you guys ready to do a spooky, scary horror mask? This one is inspired by Jason Voorhees. I can imagine most of you already knew that by now. But I have painted the canvas black, and then once that dried, I drew on, or you can transfer your image. And as I mentioned in the supply post, we are just doing a black and white, or if you want to call it grayscale version. I love painting in grayscale. If you look on my website, you can see I have a whole collection of paintings that are in grayscale. I just love how you can make something beautiful with just simple black and white, just like with photography. So I'm going to go through, and one thing I want to note is the negative space. So the background, the eyes, the holes, those are all going to stay black. We're going to be working with whites and grays in the rest of the mask here. And nothing is going to be completely stark white except for maybe a few highlights, and nothing's going to be black except for maybe one or two shadows. So, excuse me. So I'm going to come in and just mix a little bit of a gray color. And I don't want it too dark. We're just going to come in and just start painting in. Actually, I can make it a little darker. Just going to start painting. And I'm going to be careful of going around the eyes. This first coat of color is just really going to be to lay the groundwork, kind of like I've mentioned, that underpainting sort of thing. Although it's not an official underpainting, we're just getting a coat of paint down just to cover up the background, and then we'll really get going with the tones and the grayscale. I will probably be using my glazing medium a lot, so you can then use water if you don't have glazing medium, just because with grays and whites and blacks, for some reason they tend to dry faster, and they also thicken really easily. I don't know if it's just the brand that I use or what, but it also helps me get some nice smooth shadows, as acrylics do dry rather fast. Helps me blend easier. I'm not worried about the edges because I can always go over at the end to clean up any excuse me, stray markings. I suppose I could do that with the holes too, but I'm just trying to be as careful as I can. I feel almost that doing this in grayscale helps with the spooky factor also. Oops, I really covered up a hole there, huh? For some reason, to me, sometimes things look a bit spookier when they're in that black and white, or grayscale if you want to call it, coloring, as opposed to full color. I'm just leaving a little bit of a space there where I put that little indentation for the nose. It'll get painted over, but right now I just want to keep that there so I remember where I want to start that shading for the nose area. Covered up a couple of my holes here. I'm not gonna freak out about it. Just trying to just cover as much as I can here without covering a whole bunch of holes. Obviously I've covered some, but I can easily put those back in with black as I do my touch-ups. Alright, so I've got my base in here. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna lighten this up a bit because I think I had a darker mix there. Alright, so I'm gonna come in and start trying to shade a bit. I'm gonna add some more black to some of this gray here. And right where this nose is, I'm just gonna start adding some shading. This is gonna come down. And I'm gonna kind of blend it some as it goes down. Just do some color blocking for right now, and you can blend it in a bit. Oop, fly away brush. We just want to get the groundwork laid for the coloring here. And if you look at least the picture I found for his mask, it's kind of streakiness coming down. And then we'll blend it at the edges. Lighten this up a little bit in the middle. Get it back to that lighter color in the middle there. Come in with darker, and I'm just gonna blend it some in here. Come in a little bit darker. And I'm gonna come in with the lighter color and just blend at the edges a bit. Remember that move of, whoops, hair, back and forth. Kind of blends the colors so there's no hard edges there. That's what we're doing with this shadow. Just keep moving your brush up and down. And just blending it in. And I kind of messed that up there. So I think when my brush fell, I got a blob. So I'll have to go back over that in a little bit. Once that dries. Taking this darker color and just kind of shading. Blending as I can. Taking some of that glazing liquid and just really blending it and blending those edges. I'll have to come in with the light. And on top of the nose, it looks like there's a bit of like a highlight that comes down on either side. So I'm just using a little bit of a lighter tone. And bringing that down. Maybe even brightening it up a touch more to really get that contrast going. But again, just blending up and down, back and forth. Just to get that smoother appearance of blending. And you can see the hard edges disappear. This is all about just playing with the color, just having fun playing, blending, brushing, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I keep saying that in most of my paintings because it's true. It just does not have to be perfect. I'm going to soften that edge a bit and get a touch of the darker. Wipe it clean. And then just soften it a bit. Again, so I don't have those super duper hard edges. Darken this up a bit. This gives you kind of the idea. All right. So I'm going to take some of that lighter color, come in over the eyes too, on either side. This is where there's a little bit of a texture to the mask, I guess, where it like has like bumps, I guess, where it goes above the eye. I'm going to take some of the darker, and there'll be some kind of shadowing right along the edge here. And if you remember when we did, it was one of the paintings, I don't remember which one it was, and we were doing this, we were blending the edges to make it look like it was kind of curving in. So where the lightest and this dark shadow meet, I'm just blending back and forth, and you can see how it kind of made the eye look as if it's curving in. So now on the bottom, there's a smidge of a shadow, but it doesn't come all the way up to the eye thing. There's a white highlight there. So I left room for that, and I'm just smoothing this out here. All right, so now I'm going to add the lighter color. I may need my thinner brush for this because this is kind of tight here, to get a bit of a highlight in here. On the eye, and then blend. Taking a little bit of my glazing liquid and blending. There we go. I'm just going to try with the tiniest bit of that darker color on my brush. Just kind of pull towards the edge with that. Okay. Get a little bit of the lighter coming in around that dark mark there, and blend. So every time you add color, you're gonna blend it out to get rid of any of those harsh lines that you might have. Okay, blending out that color. Get a little tiny bit of the darker now, and I'm gonna come in and add a bit of shadowing in here. This mask gets really, I guess, dirty looking, streaky looking. And I'm going to come in around the edges and make it really dark so it looks like it's curving out. But for right now, we're just focusing on the inner details. So we're going to do the same thing over here. The darker coming up. And there is the highlight line. So I'll take my handy dandy thinner brush, bring that in, and then we will blend away. Okay. Just fixing the highlight there. I blended it too far away. All right, so now I'm going to take some of that dark again, and we're going to do just like we did on the other eye. Come in at the top of the eye and do that shadow, and then blend away. And remember, trying to go in different directions really helps to make it look more 3D instead of just like lines that you've added on the canvas. All right, that's looking pretty good. I think I need to add a touch more of the super light to the very top here. And the very top here. And just take the glazing liquid and blend. There we go. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna just kind of work a little bit with the colors, just play around a bit, trying to get it blended a bit around. Like I said, when I'm done with all of the inner details, I'm gonna come around the edges and sort of make it look like it's fading into the background. Okay. Excuse me. So on the mask, these little check mark looking things, I guess you call them, or unibrow or whatever, are red. So they are actually going to be a very deep, almost completely black color. So I'm going to take another brush here in just a second and start working on those once I get this coloring in there. And there is a little bit in between the eyes here that I missed, like a little shading. There we go. All right. Come in, do a little bit more coloring in here. See, this glazing liquid really helps me pull and smooth out the colors. And really help them work for me. I just keep playing around, getting that coloring the way I want it. Okay, so I think I'm going to go in and color correct now. Do those little triangle marks a bit. Maybe not completely black, but the darkest black or darkest gray I can manage. And I guess if you're not looking closely, it probably will look black. But it's a gray. All right. There we go. A little further out. I want to fix the point on that one. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to come in and do the holes. Fix those holes. And those are going to be black because they are actual holes going through. Oops. Okay. All right. Just doing all the holes here. My husband and I were actually watching this movie the other night, and you know, nothing really beats these old classic horrors, or even, you know, the ones from years ago. But man, the acting was pretty bad, wasn't it? I had to laugh when we were watching. I'll need to touch up with some gray down here because I went a little overboard. Let me do some touch-ups. All right, just doing a few touch-ups where I see some rogue smudges or holes showing through. Actually gonna make that a little lighter. And fix that there. I think I actually want to go even a smidge later, right there on the nose piece. Blend that out some. Okay, I think there we go. Okay. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. So now I'm gonna come in and do some shading around the edges to really make this look like it's going around, you know, curving around. So I'm gonna come in and take some black with the glazing liquid, and then I'm just gonna keep going just like we have been, blending, 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 to get those edges. And if you get too much, you can use some clean water and take it off. Just like that. I think I'm gonna have to come in with some light to fix that. There we go. And I may have to touch up some of those circles again, but that's okay. You know, just kind of keep playing around. I like saying playing because to me, art is playing. If you follow me for a while, you'll get to see that I actually suffer from anxiety and depression, and art actually helps me process my emotions. It's kind of like a therapy for me. And it's kind of fun that I get to play with art, make a living off of it, and it helps me mentally. So just keep, you know, layering and blending and until you get to what I call happy place with it, or you can sit back and say, oh yeah, I like that. just noticed there was a darker spot in my reference image. So I'm just coming in and adding that. I'm going to come in, add a bit more dark to blend here. And it kind of looks like it's coming off the canvas. That's another thing I really love about working grayscale, is you can do so much with just shadow and light and not having to worry about color. I'm just touching up some areas where I feel like it might need a little more depth. And maybe darken around this edge a bit more. Okay. I think I'm pretty much done. I'm going to do a few touch-ups where I see I need some, like those holes that I shadowed over. And then I will touch up my edges to make sure they still look black. And then, as you know, the last step will be to sign. But I'm just going to touch up a few holes here. All right, maybe go around the inside of the eyeball socket thingies. Not really sockets, but where the eye holes are. Just to make sure my edges are nice and crisp. Touch up one that I messed up there. And now, signature. All right. Greyscale horror mask.